Busha refers to a very important page in the history of Ukraine. The uniqueness of Busha is represented by its extraordinary nature. It is located in South-Eastern Podillia. Busha has the merging of the following three rivers, namely Murafa, Bushanka, and Sukha Bushanka, while creating an extraordinary relief. That place has been constantly inhabited by man as evinced by archaeological science starting from the early Tripilia to the present. One may note a continuous process of living of people, our ancestors, our distant ancestors, and close ancestors on this land. Everything is proved by science, history, and archaeology. Life here blooms in a moment, but another moment comes and life fades while gradually restoring once again. One may observe the same story here on this land. There are times when a person feels comfortable here by developing both the place and the culture. But the different times come and it all fades. Busha was a border fortress. It was invaded by a huge army. Twice the attack was disrupted, but the third time the fortress has been captured. In order not to surrender to the enemy, the children and women of the soldiers grabbed torches, went to the dungeons, and threw them onto powder. The fortress has been blown, along with its defenders and the ones who captured it. The army of invaders has been almost completely destroyed. Only one tower remained after the explosion. It has survived to present along with a dungeon located under the tower. One may see what the dungeons look like then. The Chernikov culture, dated back the 4th or 5th century AD, is rather widespread. Tripilia has undergone following three periods, namely early, middle, late, and other new times of the Middle Ages. Especially one should note, for instance, the settlements of the Tripilian culture that reached more than 100 hectares and the excavations performed repeatedly, not only as a state reserve, which has been founded in 2000s, but also scientific researches carried out in Soviet times before. Somewhat later, dates occur due to the archaeological scientific researches. These are the artifacts obtained by archaeologists during excavations. They allow to determine the period of creation of the period of existence of this monument, more or less 100 or 200 years. I requested Vasil Stepanovich Rizhi and his wife Natalia, master potters, teachers of the Tulchinsk School of Culture, to create those. On the 3rd of July of the 21st, a ladder was born, as they say. It was made by means of scorching. They also used shamot. We have scorched ladder on the night of the 3rd of July, during the closure of the next plein air of Podolsky amulet, on the territory of the state reserve nearby that valley. In fact, we're going to name the place nearby the Lada Valley. Well, Lada is a goddess, the patroness of children, the patroness of the family, and the goddess of love. I.e., its hypostasis has lots of meanings and complete ornaments corresponding to its essence. All the details depicted from top to bottom correspond to her essence as the goddess of love, as the patroness of the family, a kolovrat. The most important symbols in its hypostasis are children and fishtails. That is something that is associated with the genus and rebirth. This is one of the most significant Slavic goddesses. Lada, Makosha, Perun, Velas, etc. One may find a complete pantheon there. Just like in Christianity, there is Saint Vlasius, Mikhailo, and many other saints. In a similar way, the pagans also had various images, mythological ones the religious cult was associated with. You may find yourselves in a rock temple of Busha. This temple was founded in 1824. In 1883, it was explored by Volodymyr Antonovich, a famous archaeologist. The temple became world famous then. That still is the basic exposition of this temple. It is believed that the original trinity is depicted thereon. The world tree is the first one. Next goes the heaven world, depicted as a bird. Hypothetically, scientists assume that it depicts a rooster or a phoenix bird. Next goes the Dar Alfana depicted as a deer. It is well known that a deer is the embodiment of Dash Bog, according to the Slavic tradition. The antlers of a deer are made so that they form a triangle, and the triangle in any spiritual teachings, when facing the sky, first of all, means a trinity, since a triangle has three corners. Secondly, it means ascending the heaven. The third is the underworld, depicted as a woman. Most researchers believe that this is the goddess of fertility, the Mother Earth herself. She is standing on her knees and appealing to some higher forces of the universe. She is pregnant, has big buttocks and big breasts. That is the goddess of fertility who's holding a ball of water in her hands. But that has been made for a reason. The Regis have lots of healing springs able to treat various diseases. These healing waters are a gift for people from the gods. That bowl contains these very waters. She is the mistress of the underworld, since it represents fertility. It is from the underworld that the roots of agricultural plants grow. The better they feed from the ground, the greater the harvest. Thus, the original Trinity includes the heaven, the earth, and the underworld. But if one associates that with a person from the point of view of modern psychology, then it shall mean superconscious, conscious, and subconscious correspondingly. Different scientists name different creation dates. They say that this temple has been built 3,500 years ago, or 4,500. But there are some who name the date of 6,000 years ago, or even earlier. There one may find another interesting thing that archaeologists call TV set. What is a TV set? That is a cubic stone. It is known that a cubic stone is a symbol of the material universe in all the ancient religions worldwide. For instance, the goddess Isis in Egypt, the goddess Saraswati, or some Slavic goddesses, such as Makosh, they always sit on the cubic stone, since it is the goddess who is the mistress of the physical world. People come here to ask Mother Earth, Mother of fertility, for material happiness, to give happiness on earth, i.e. health, many years of life, harmony in families, children, so that they were happy, material fortune, a good fate. Everything was requested in the temple where a female figure was. That is a place where it happens to the present. Archaeologist Antonovich specified that this TV set had an inscription in Old Slavic stating, "I am Myrobog, the god of the world," or Zvantuith, as related to the Slavs, or something similar to the Indian Brahma. It was found that this temple has been recognized as a sacred one. It happened to other religions as well. For instance, people whose religion is Christianity gathered here. Anagrams of Jesus Christ and the sign of the Trinity were carved on the rocks with a triangle and an eye in the center of it. It is known that the triangle with an eye means the Holy Trinity in the Catholic Church, i.e. they have also confirmed that they are experiencing Trinity here. That is the Catholic sign of the anagram of Jesus Christ. There is also a date carved there. They had a meeting here in 1524. Not only Catholics had a meeting here, but also representatives of secret orders, such as the Rosicrucians. They have also recognized the temple as a sacred one. This triangle located at the top may symbolize what they call the flaming delta, which is a symbol of the spread of knowledge and light. These inscriptions meant that this temple has been recognized as a sacred and not ruined, but rather maintained both on the part of the Catholic Church and secret societies that were then spread in Europe. That is the oldest Trinity. But this one is more modern, already Christian, i.e. the presence of the Trinity in this temple has been recognized by several religions. That matters. One may find the other side of the TV set on this wall, i.e. one may find a cubic stone again with a small hole in it. Archaeologists assume that this hole was a place for inserting a precious stone or crystal intended to enhance the energy flow. That slab is called the altar. They brought here gifts for the Great Mother of Earth, since everyone who honored the gods of heaven did it on the tops of hills or on the tops of mountains. When they honored the Great Mother, it was made underground, thus the temple is rocky. This altar is intended for gifts for the Great Mother. What were those gifts like? Those were vegetables, fruits, grain and water. Here, there is an inscription from the Mr. who discovered this temple. How did he discover it? He was walking alone and just fell into the temple. This inscription means that the great Mr. has discovered this temple due to his great intelligence. Well, there is an irony in modern language. He made himself immortal evermore. He wrote that he fell down here accidentally. He has informed archaeologists, but only about 60 years later. In 1883, the archaeologist Antonovich has explored the temple, i.e. it happened after this Mr. fell down there. You may find yourselves in the Haydamackiy Yar, located in Busha. This ravine is also called Bushansky Yar. It is known as a place of power both in Ukraine and in several other countries, and is recognized as an exact place of power. The ancient Slavs believed that this ravine is an entrance to paradise. You may find a sign here. It is a cross inside a circle. A cross inside a circle is an old Slavic sign, indicating that there are the four elements of the earth, the four directions of the world, as well as the power of the Absolute, namely the power of the Almighty in the center, where all these four directions are balanced. The ancient Slavs called him Rod. That's why the place where there's grass inside a circle is the entrance to Ihor city, where the gods live, namely the city where Rod dwells. One may find that the entrance to ravine is guarded by statue. Some people believe that it is the god Veles, since his symbol is the horn, and it is the horn that is depicted on this statue. Veles is also considered as the god of water and earth. Thus here one may find a pattern that means water. One may find a TV set standing nearby, i.e. cubic stone. The matter is that this stone is depicted on many ancient frescoes in Busha. The cubic stone is an image of our material universe in ancient cultures. The Vedic texts say, the universe is our mother, the universe is the goddess. The flower of life is next to it. This flower of life symbolizes the fern that blooms on the night of Kupala, where the 8 ends of the flower are a symbol of an ancient Slavic stone called alater, into which Rod the Almighty embodied. When crossing the river, one may find lots of geometric small stones with an altar among them. The matter is that in Soviet times, they believed that all these stones were made naturally, i.e. by some natural forces or certain natural processes. But following 1991, many scientists, including archaeologists, began to advance the view that these stones were artificial. They assumed that a large city was once built from this stone. These were megaliths, namely the remains of that city. All these megalithic stones stretch along both banks of the Bushanka River, on the right and left, for about 2.5 kilometers from each bank. You are now standing on the stone explored by investigators and mystics, and esotericists, and people from different fields of knowledge, both from the religious side, intuitive spiritual people and scientists. Almost everyone called that stone an altar. Once there was a large temple standing here. It was an altar stone, where the divine services of some ancient religion have been performed. Thus it is considered prayed in. They make wishes on that stone and bring their gifts for the gods, such as the grain, bread, water, vegetables, and fruits. There is also a very interesting object in Busha called the Cossack cemetery. Experts share different opinions on that matter. There are 2 opinions. The one proves that it is an ordinary Cossack cemetery, but of an irregular shape, But another opinion proves that this is a cemetery of Cossacks-enchanters. Cossacks-enchanters were the battle magicians who were able to use magic while combat actions. It was believed that they wanted to leave their descendants some information about enchanter art, and thus they put certain hieroglyphs on the tombstones, namely some secret knowledge, symbols. They allowed one to decipher the teachings of enchanters. That's why people come from all over Ukraine, come to Busha in order to restore the enchanter's activity and to study the hieroglyphs and symbols that are applied on those unusual crosses. They refer to the Vedic period of our knowledge, namely to the old Slavic Vedic tradition. That small house is an exact reconstruction of an ancient sanctuary of the Trypillians. The Trypillians had small ritual houses that were holding in the air or stood on poles and did not touch the ground. The roof had an irregular shape. It was in these houses that the priests of the Trypillians performed various magical rituals. Modern scientists do not know what they exactly were like. It was only proved that these were the rituals and divine services of the Trypillians. That's why this small house is considered magical and is popularly called a small house where fairies dwell. We're standing near the sculpture called Angel Wings. This is a quite mystical story. It is known that Busha hosts international plein airs of sculptors. So one of the famous sculptors was going to make a panel picture. He wanted to make a square stele, including images. He started creating it, but then he got tired and went to drink some coffee. At that moment, there was such an explosion that the whole Busha could hear. When he came to the workshop, he saw that the block had split diagonally and two wings appeared. He called them angel wings, and in this very place they were installed. I.e., this sculpture has been made by some mystical force by means of thunder and lightning. Thus it is considered mystical. There is a complete pilgrim's journey to this sculpture. How do these angel wings work? One comes from this side and stands, putting hands on the wings. One closes eyes and sees the underworld. The matter is that under Busha, there are lots of underground cities of ancient civilizations found using geoscanners. These are the underground voids, not yet been excavated by archaeologists, just recorded. With the eyes closed, one may see these dungeons where one shall be able to fly over. Minor wishes are fulfilled here. Unless one has a minor wish requiring an urgent fulfillment within a day. One makes it, and it comes true. That's why in order to fly over the underworld and make a wish, there is a pilgrim's journey to this sculpture called Angel Wings from different places of Ukraine and from abroad as well. There is a healing spring in Busha that heals vision. I.e., people who drink from this spring improve their vision and treat from all diseases. It has been known since the time of the Polish kings, since some of the Polish royal families and aristocrats came to Busha to treat their vision, which is evidenced by the Polish chronicles. People are still coming here to drink water and heal their vision. People applied to me multiple times, even from Finland. Then we met Finns, brought them here, Then they drank this water and had their vision improved. Other countries also know about the spring. There are also other springs in Busha. For instance, there is the Ihor, and the water springs able to heal the kidneys. It was on the Ihor where a settlement of ancient people has been found. These were not ordinary people, but those who were doing shamanism in a shaman's camp. That ritual shaman camp is also being excavated. It will possibly be accessed while walking tours. The ridges are rich in springs that treat various diseases. All these springs flow in the Murafa river. Thus, if one swims in the Murafa river located in Busha, one shall gain spring powers from all ridges onto all parts of the body. One may find a Trypillian double jar in Busha. Such jars are found in all cities where the Trypillian culture existed. Its range is very significant, since it covers several European countries. It harmonizes space. Beside it is a well-known fact that there is an absolute located within an equilibrium point. After this jar was built, Busha has instantly become known. Foreigners from all over the world began to visit Busha, being a center of spiritual tourism. By the way, recently, these jars are being placed one by one not only in Busha, but in all the Ukrainian cities and villages where Trypillian cultures have been excavated. Everything was getting better in places where those jars stood. Modern researchers assume those to be space harmonizers. We're standing on one of the highest ridges, called Mahnata. Here one may find the Dniester River and the territory of Moldova across that river. One may find that the ridges on the left bank of the Dniester are rocky, where there are lots of rocks and caves. Who made these caves? These caves were made by the Magi at the times of an ancient Vedic Slavic religion. They made these caves to pray and talk to the gods in there. When the Magi left and Christianity was adopted, Christian monks were praying here in the wilds and making ascetics. Therefore, these places were prayed in both by the ancient religion of Vedic Slavic and by Christianity. One may observe three large groups of rocks above the Dniester. Each of them has the caves. Basically, all ridges contain small cave towns used for prayers. There is a passage leading to them. One should go along the bank of the Dniester River from the village of Oksanivka. Lots of people go there by feet to meditate in those caves. These caves are insufficiently explored. Thus, exploration of these small cave cities, used for religious purposes, will continue for a long time, since there are plenty of them in ridges. Busha is considered a place of power for many religions. The matter is that these are places of power. Places of power are energetically altered places with the Earth's electric field, magnetic field, and gravitational vector do not work as similar as in other places. Places of power are unusual places created by nature or by God Himself, as the religious people claim. Thus, various religions and spiritual trends are constantly emerging in these places. No matter what temples or their religions one considers, they are always built on energetically changed places or places of power. I may advise one to travel to Busha and explore it. You may also join our studies and the expeditions that are constantly made to this place as well as to other energetically changed places.